The Last of Us was commonly cited as the best video game of all time, and sure, I agreed it was definitely on the list, but it wasn't until The Last of Us Part 2 emotionally ruined me and spawned an obsession with the franchise that continues to financially ruin me that I loved it as much as everyone else. Last of Us means everything to me, so despite initially being against this TV show, I haven't been able to contain my excitement this past week, and I'm going to be doing a weekly spoiler-filled review as all 9 episodes come out. What up, Goofy Goobers? Welcome back to another episode of I Talk. I figured I'd just put that intro at the beginning of every video, just kind of make it feel like one big, and in case, someone just jumps in at any random episode. It'd be nice for that little bit of context, but also in the intro, don't I say that I'm going to be doing it as all 9 episodes come out? Yeah, I'm reconsidering that right now, because episode 2... The final note I wrote on my notepad is, that sucked. Yeah, so maybe I'm gonna stop doing these weekly reviews, and maybe just stop watching it in general, because if you know me, you know that 1, I collect Blu-rays, and then 2, I collect everything Last of Us. But this episode made me go, I don't think I'm gonna buy the Blu-ray of this once it finishes airing. But it's not Last of Us, it's an adaptation of Last of Us that I'm not really sold on. But yeah, to just be general, it kind of confirmed all of my fears that the second half of the first episode gave me, and pretty much all the same criticisms I had from that carry over. Like, all this episode did for me was just make me want to play the game, like it made me do that boomer thing where it's like, oh, this is more like it, isn't it? Where like they show you like old stuff that they liked, and you're just like, why are you laughing? This is just sexual assault. And they're like, oh yeah, but it's good though. And you're just like, no. And speaking of sexual assault, Tess got SA'd at the end there by that zombie, which I didn't like. I get that it was supposed to be creepy, but also, was it? Because the way they spoke about it in the podcast was quite confusing. Like, it was supposed to be a tender moment, which made it more creepy, they said. But aside from that, I just found it generally uncomfortable. It was weird. Yeah, and also for context, I'm being quiet because I'm a lot less enthusiastic than I was last week. So I can't be bothered to go into the fucking -2 weather and walk out into my shed and sit in that cold ass room. So I'm just in my room, in my bed, because this week I just watched it laying down in my bed instead of sitting 3 inches away from the fucking TV. And also, I'm tired. I woke up early today. But yeah, this is a super spoiler, also spoiling the games, and also this is on Spotify. Just search Lazy on Spotify or Apple Podcasts if you want to listen to it while doing other shit. Going through my notes in chronological order that I wrote. I really hope they stop doing this. I hope this doesn't happen every episode. Craig Mazin, stop adding backstory to the virus. Because it's him. Because he did Chernobyl, so he's interested in this sort of shit. Stop adding fucking backstory to the virus. We don't need it. That's not what Last of Us is, Like, what fucking freak plays Last of Us and it's like, oh, I need more info on the fucking zombie virus. That's not what it's about, Last of Us is all about the fucking raw human emotion and the fucking relationships. The zombies is merely a fucking backdrop for that to happen. Why? Why is it there? Who's watching Last of Us for that? But if you like that backstory, cool, I guess. Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. But for me, I don't find that shit interesting. It's not a fucking mystery thriller. It's a drama. Yeah, and the biggest thing this confirmed for me, sadly, because I wanted to love her so bad, Bella Ramsey is just straight up not good. Like, her facial expressions are good, I will give her that. Like, there's that moment where Ellie steps on the arm and they just look like really, that was just genuine fear in Bella's eyes. And that was good. And just generally her facial expressions are good, but I think it's purely the accent that is throwing it off. Because it's not convincing. It's not convincing at all. There's especially one line of dialogue where they say, like,
Well, I didn't shit my pants.
and the Brit came out in that line, and I think that is also just why, like, the bad accent Bella is doing just makes Ellie come across as like really bratty, whereas in the game that sort of like angsty teen stuff that Ellie does is endearing, but in this it's just, I don't know, I don't think it's a good performance, which breaks my heart to say, especially because of all the fucking hate mail that Bella's probably getting for completely stupid reasons. Oh yeah, it was the bit where they're on the bridge and sad music started playing, which I don't think should have been playing in general, but I feel like there needed an extra beat before it started playing. Next note I just got, oh wow, it's for a hotel optional convo from the game, but Tess is there this time. Yeah, in the game that's like a really charming optional conversation, and I think once again this is a disadvantage of adapting it from a to a lesser medium, is that in the game, first of all, not only is that just far more charming in the game because the performance is better, but then also the fact that that's an optional conversation just makes it so much better, just knowing that you could have missed out on it, whereas in the TV show, it's just, you know, you can't miss out. So it's kind of just like, oh yeah, they're doing the thing from the game. You know, like my favorite scene, like one of my favorite scenes in part 2 is when Ellie sings Take On Me to Dina. You know, it's just such a gorgeous scene. And what makes it so much better is knowing that I could have missed out on it, but I didn't. And the fact that I explored the area, they gave me a reward for doing that. And it was that gorgeous scene. But obviously you don't get that in film and television, because there's no interactive elements. God, I'm gonna sound like a fucking broken record. Like this is me back when they first announced the HBO show, and I was like, why adapt it into a lesser medium? I got a note here that just says, these bitches are a hive mind. And I got a subnote under that says, Expo Dump is especially weird because they keep hammering her. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So the fact that the zombies are a hive mind, I think the way they kind of explained that, it made sense, and is probably a real thing. I think they said in the podcast. But I feel like that's just a poor choice they made, especially because they are really emphasizing the fact that the zombies are still human. That like the human is still there, but they're just not in control of what they're doing. And so I just feel like them essentially being like a hive mind with like the fungus being all like connected and whatever, just kind of, it's not supernatural, but because it's essentially a hive mind, it kind of makes it feel supernatural and makes it feel less human, which is funny because they're trying to be like, yeah, these zombies are actually they're humans actually. You get what I mean? Oh, I got another note here that just says, I hate So this is during an ad break. I just wrote, I hate Britain, and then I wrote, because there was an ad for like shows coming soon, and I just wrote, I can't wait for Succession season 4. Oh, I got a positive note here. Anna Torv is good. I thought she was doing a pretty fine job. I think the best performance in this episode out of the 3 of them. She was doing the best job, I think. Oh yeah, here's why I think maybe this episode I didn't care for. Granted, it may just be because I'm really tired, but I'm usually tired. I'm like tired all the fucking time. And literally right before the episode started, literally 2 minutes before it started, I had just watched an episode of BoJack, and I was like, God, BoJack is so good. Maybe that's why it was especially bad, because I'm currently rewatching BoJack, which is like my favorite show of all time, and so that just made it even worse than it actually is, because I watched it right after watching the episode of BoJack. Oh, maybe that is why. But anyway, what I was originally trying to say is that me being in like a tired, bad mood isn't the reason why I dislike this episode, because I liked the episode of BoJack I watched. Also, I've been rewatching old Yogscast episode videos. Happens like every 6 months. I just rewatch old Yogscast videos. Fucking, it's Truckin' Tuesday. This is no longer a Last of Us podcast or weekly, whatever the fuck this is. I've given up. I've given up. I was like, I'm gonna upload a video every week for 9 weeks doing Last of Us fucking recaps. It's gonna be so cool. Second episode. Fucking second week in, I've lost all steam. Anyway, so I think this is maybe the main reason why I didn't like this episode, is because, as I said last video, they cut out a scene from the game, which kind of disorientated me, because obviously I'm used to the game, and I was like, hey, where's this scene? But I understand why they cut it out, because that's essentially like the tutorial bit, because you're just walking and then you come across a group of guys and whatever. But with this episode, that's just what this episode is, walking, and that is far less stimulating when you're not the one doing the walking, and the dialogue just feels less interesting, and just everything feels less weighty. And I think another reason for that is that none of the places they were felt like a real place. It just felt like they were going from set to set, you know, like it didn't feel like one big area. It just felt like fake background, some stages, and some real outside field. None of it felt real, whereas in the game it is obviously one big level you're in after the everything you hoped for bit, which is a far better scene in the game. I can't put my finger on why I preferred that in the game. I think it's the facial expressions of Joel in the game. I think the way he reacts to Ellie. And then Ellie also just seems more... It's just a much more charming scene in the game. And I think it's like the first bit where Joel kind of really opens up and then shuts himself off, which is a good scene. I didn't really feel that with this iteration. Oh, here's another note. The zombies do be moving creepily. I'll give them that. And the makeup, I'm sure it's a mix of CGI as well. You know, they said that they were doing a lot of practical stuff for this. And yeah, it looks good. Like, that is just a clicker from the fucking game. Yeah, that's amazing. Well done. You're watching WatchMojo.com, and these are our picks for the top 10 fucking cosplay. Yeah, you get the joke. Yeah, here's another note. Is Joel playing on easy difficulty? Obviously this is just going to be a big thing with adapting a game which has several difficulty settings to a TV show. But it did feel a bit, you know, Hollywoody, because I felt like they shot guns too much in that clicker sequence, whereas in the games you're really reserving your ammo. But obviously, you know, if you play on easy difficulty, you come across more ammo, so I guess he's just playing on easy difficulty. But that just makes it less tense. To be a broken record, again, it is less tense when you're not the one being chased by a clicker and throwing fucking bricks at them. God, this just made me want to play the game again. And it shouldn't want to do that. It should make me want to watch the TV show. But all it made me think, for however fucking long the episode was like, oh, I wish I was playing the game, because that's so much better than this. And yeah, sure, granted, I think it will get better, because the part of the game that we're at in the show is the worst part of the game. You know, like once we get to Bill's Town, that's when it really ramps up, and then winter is easily the best part of the game. So I'm hoping that the show will, when they get to winter in the show, that it will also be the best part of the show. But also, I might ditch it by then, you know, especially if they keep adding all this fucking backstory that we just don't need. I'm scared that it's gonna ruin my perception of the game, and so if I do stop watching it, that will be the reason why. Yeah, and then my final note that I haven't already said, Tess's death / goodbye was better in the game. I think the dialogue was better in the game, but there was one line in this that I did like, which was like, she said something like, like, I don't ask for anything, like, I didn't ask for you to feel the way that I felt, which I liked, because, you know, that feeds into my headcanon of they're not a romantic couple, and instead Tess wanted to be in a romantic relationship with him, but Joel wouldn't open himself up. So I like that element of it, but otherwise I think it was better in the game. I don't know, Anna Torv was definitely good. I think she was definitely good because she was so hopeful, you know, despite the fact, like, she's so clearly given up, but yet she like this one strand of hope that she's hanging on to, that's kind of mixed in with this rage towards Joel for not having any. I think that was good, but overall I think it just was better in the game. And then also I find it more effective not actually seeing the death, you know, like not seeing a death makes it more effective. Yeah, I don't know, this is probably a shorter episode. God, I'm not looking forward to editing this. I'm gonna edit this so fucking quickly. I'm gonna put no into the visual aspects of this episode whatsoever, and then I'm gonna upload it, and then I'm going to watch another episode of BoJack, then I'm going to go to bed. As you can tell by the tone of my voice, and sure, I do have to be quiet because it's 4 a.m. and I'm in my room instead of the unscripted shed. That's a part of it, and also I'm tired, but also it just wasn't good. Yeah, I don't know, is that because I'm a mega fan of the games that I wasn't gonna like this no matter what? But at first I did. The first half of the first episode I really did. I'm more interested in what casual audiences will think. Mega fans of Last of Us are either gonna hate the show or love the show. But yeah, luckily, because I had a very strong feeling that it wouldn't do the game justice, this hasn't broken my heart. And who knows, maybe if I keep watching it, it might. Yeah, I'll give it one more episode, but if I'm still not sold on it by then, I don't think I ever will be. I'm kind of just tired. Yeah, alright, I'm gonna edit this.